Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker. Well, a subscriber sent in a link to an article and he also gave me a question, so I'm using this video to answer it. Okay, so there was a couple that was living in Buffalo, New York. The wife is originally from Puerto Rico. And they had been living up there for 18 years. So, like most people, they get tired of the cold and they move down to Florida. And in particular, this couple moved to Tampa, Florida. Okay, so the husband dies and the wife is there alone. She says she doesn't know anybody in the community, anybody down there. Okay, so she says to herself, I want to move back to Buffalo. Yes, even though it's cold, but at least she knows people up there. She's 91 years old, and there's someone there that would be willing, or a number of people that would be willing to look after her, take care of her. Okay, she misses that community, so she wants to move back. On the radio, she hears this company that advertises saying that they would buy your home and then you could go and live anywhere in the world that you want to. She calls that company up on the phone and speaks with them. They then come to her house with contracts. She goes ahead and she signs those contracts without a lawyer. The contracts are all in English. After she signs the contract, she says to them she doesn't speak English that well. She speaks Spanish. Can you interpret and explain the contracts to me because I don't understand? Okay, so the company explains the contract to her. They never give her any contract in Spanish. Okay, so the day comes when the movers that the company pays for, they're wholesalers, they come to move the furniture, but she's not there because that same day she gets admitted to the emergency room. She's having chest pains and I forgot what the other thing was. All right, so now after she comes out of the hospital, she gets notified that they are going to sue her. She says that they did give her a plane ticket, and she says it was never discussed that they were going to have her flying. So that was a surprise to her. So that says to me she must have drove down. Her and her husband must have drove down to Florida and made, certain stops along the way. And then the other thing is that she didn't think that they were going to go through with it because they never sent her any money. The money that they offered her was only $100,000. That was $17,000 less than what they actually paid for the house. Okay, and the house is actually worth $220,000. Okay, following me now? So, yeah, she complains that they never paid her any money to move anyway. So, yes, now they are suing her. So, the subscriber wanted to know whether or not they can throw her out of her house. So guys, here's the situation. Yes, I work for a law firm, but I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a judge. Okay? And a lot of this, to be quite honest with you, if she was in like prepaid legal and paid that $25 a month, that you could cancel anytime, she would have avoided this mess altogether. But here's my experience with all of this. We did have a home in Florida. I did, speak about that a while back in another video. When we had that home, there was a family there that was Haitian. They spoke Creole. We don't speak Creole, and my French is horrible. Okay. The documents we gave, they were in English, but we did get someone to interpret, like a realtor that spoke French, to assist with the transaction. But this tenant, though, honestly, it was a friend of my uncle. They knew each other for a long time. And it wasn't really complicated. It was really just a lease. But needless to say, we did that. That was a number of years ago. Now I'm told, I did look it up, and I found that in Florida, it's actually a requirement that if you're dealing with someone, doing business with someone, and that person does not understand English, you need to have another set of documents, another set of paperwork that's in the language that they speak. Okay, it's the law now. So the fact that she did not get that, comes into the question, was exploitation, is that involved in this situation? I'm not sure, because the thing is, this is not, other states have different laws regarding this. Some states you don't have to translate those documents, and you don't have to have an interpreter either. It's on that person, but there are other states that do. So that's why you got to be careful, no matter where you are, what type of business you're doing, whether it's real estate or not. You need to know the laws of that particular state. And that's why you always should have a lawyer translate documents for you, break down whatever it is that you don't understand. Okay, this is not what happened in this particular situation. Let's be honest. Some of us speak English, and we look at some of these documents. Sometimes if it's 1 or 2 pages long, we're good. But when it's 10 or 20 pages long, we get a little bit lazy. We get a little bit tired. We don't take the time to read it over. Sometimes we see words in there that we don't understand, but we play like we understand anyway, and we go ahead and sign it, and we don't do what she did, which is say, explain it. But really, honestly, she should have had them explain it before she signed it. Number 2, she shouldn't have even relied on them for anything. She should have gotten a Spanish. She should have stopped from the beginning and got somebody who spoke Spanish to translate it for her. Or she should have she probably didn't know that it's the law, but she could have demanded that they write another set of documents in Spanish, but do that before signing, not after. You never want to trust the other side, the side that you're either giving money to or the side that is going to give money to you. You never want to trust them to interpret anything for you, to break down anything for you. You always want to go to a lawyer. Let that lawyer review the document, and let that lawyer ask those questions. And a lot of times lawyers will also negotiate for you. You see what I'm saying? Because now she really put herself at risk because she signed it first and then asked later. The company did wrong by not providing documents to her in Spanish. So I'm not really sure how this is going to play. I think the judge is going to try and see if there's a way that he or she can do rough justice and split it down the middle in one form or fashion. He might let her out the deal, but he might require her to pay the company a certain amount of money because the company already bought a one-way ticket for her to go back to Buffalo. And in their agreement that they had, she was supposed to refund and reimburse them for that particular ticket. And that's not what happened. Now, here's the other thing, too, that I don't really quite understand myself, is the fact that Puerto Rico is a territory of the U.S. They have free public school system where they, teach them to speak English. So I'm not really understanding. I do know Puerto Ricans that don't know how to speak English that well, but I just don't understand. I'm not really sure how that part is gonna hold up in court. What I do know is this, because I did take Spanish and I did take French. I know that when you don't practice speaking the language, you forget a lot. You don't remember a whole lot of things. It takes you a while sometimes to get back into the language itself. Okay? And then the problem is nobody speaks, just like how most of us don't speak proper English, a lot of people don't speak proper Spanish. A lot of people, French people say that most of them speak proper, but I don't believe that. Plus you have colloquialisms, you have slang, right? In English, we have curse words, and a lot of people who are not familiar with English, when they hear, especially if they come to New York and they hear how we curse, they be like, well, that's not in the dictionary. What does that mean? I've had that. I have had people approach me like that. So, yeah, those are the things that for me is like, yeah, I think if I were the judge, I probably wouldn't let her lose her home, being that, number one, she is 91 years old. But I would make her at least repay that ticket back to Buffalo. And again, I would have to look into a little bit more as far as the whole language situation. But outside of the language situation, it's just like when you're doing real estate transactions like this without a lawyer, that is extremely dangerous. And I'm pretty sure they definitely told her, or she was taught at one time, that you should definitely have a lawyer with you when you're signing contracts. Now, here's the other thing that's making me rethink how I do business in hearing this particular story. It's the fact that she went to the emergency room. I don't remember if she went to the emergency room the exact date that she was supposed to move out or before. What I do know is this. Sometimes, you can argue whether or not you believe that part is real or not. But sometimes, many times, if you are having a health issue, you're going through a health condition, a health problem, and you have to be admitted to the emergency room, you're not thinking about your business. You're not thinking about your job. You're thinking about staying alive. You understand me? So I'm thinking maybe, and it's often not in many contracts, but I'm thinking maybe it should be put into contracts, this deal will go forward, and then a contingency regarding whether or not, due to health reasons, I wasn't able to perform X, Y, and Z, I wasn't able to deliver X, Y, and Z, then A, B, C will happen. You understand? So That's what this situation has got me thinking. All right. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about this particular situation? If you were the judge, in your opinion, would you say that the lady would have to leave her home and take her home away from her for a whole lot less than what she paid? I'm pretty sure, though, that it's hard for me to believe that she was just so. Here's the other thing. It's so hard for me to believe that she was so desperate to move back to Buffalo. So, to a certain extent, I do believe that she did not understand. Because why would you sell your house for less than half of what it's actually worth just to move back to be with family and or friends in New York? To me, that part lends itself to say, well, maybe she didn't understand, because in my mind, no reasonable person would do something like that. And then she brought up something else, besides the ticket and the money. Like I believe I mentioned, normally you don't get the money until after you leave, because when you're doing a closing, it is recommended that a few days before you close, that you do a walkthrough and make sure that the house is absolutely empty. So she's actually wrong in that point, in expecting that she was going to get the money before she moved. And when she didn't get the money, that's pretty much why she stayed. The only reason why she started to pack up is because she saw that they were going to sue her. All right. So, yeah, this is a very interesting case. I'll definitely, if I can, keep my eye on it. And if you guys want to, give me more links to see what happened, it would definitely be of interest. But yes, when you are dealing with someone who does not speak the language, make sure you know what the laws are. There are some states too, like even after you create a document that's written in the language that that person speaks, you got to create an additional document in both English and in their language, stating that they know and understand every single thing that's in the document. Okay? All right, guys. So hopefully what I shared will help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.